Badlands, running to Badlands, explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Consider myself a conspiracy buff at all, but when they get a lot of coincidences, I get a little suspicious and call me crazy.
Polls, weird talk shows, crazy groups every Sunday telling you what you think.
The Republicans and the Democrats conspire with one another, which they do.
There is a conspiracy by big business against American democracy.
We know that there was a conspiracy.
There was a conspiracy.
There was no conspiracy.
Was there a conspiracy?
It's a communist conspiracy directed out of Moscow.
The right-wing conspiracy.
Communist conspiracy is a deliberate and predictable plan of action to subvert the world.
Right-wing conspiracy.
International criminal conspiracy.
Vast right-wing conspiracy.
Great conspiracy.
There are all these conspiracy theories.
Was there a conspiracy? I don't know.
Perhaps themselves even involved in the conspiracy.
There was
a conspiracy.
No evidence
of a conspiracy.
Anybody would have to be a fool nowadays to dismiss conspiracy.
Conspiracy
theory.
Cockeyed conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory exists because there really is conspiracy.
But they never told a soul about it. In fact, they engaged in a vast conspiracy.
You get accused of being a conspiracy theorist, of being a paranoid.
The historical context of actual conspiracy.
A conspiracy of bad people.
As always happens at some point in a conspiracy. One night, Cousin Eddie got drunk in a honky-tonk and spilled the beans.
There was a conspiracy, and government was involved in it.
conspiracy existing within the United States government.
There was a conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
A conspiracy by the CIA.
The conspiracy of a few.
Dark, secretive, conspiratorial, evil.
Then it was certainly a deliberate conspiracy.
High-level conspiracy.
The do's and the don'ts and the rights and the wrongs of the various conspiracy theories that are good.
Possibility of a conspiracy.
In a moral sense, I think it was a conspiracy.
One conspiracy, that's all I'm talking about.
Full of speculation, conspiracy theories, and the like.
And what's going on here?
You began to wonder what was really happening in America. I mean, was there a vast conspiracy afoot?
You know, there could have been a conspiracy.
Do you think you're obsessed with conspiracy?
Conspiracy theory.
A conspiracy.
I'm afraid you'll catch me. I'm afraid you'll catch me.
A conspiracy would do the job nicely.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of your favorite Monday night show, Baseless Conspiracies. Unfortunately, tonight I will be by myself because Zach is still traveling back from Deadwood, from Gart, from arguably the best conference we've had so far. They're all amazing for their own reasons, but they do appear to keep getting better. It was just so much fun. One of our biggest attended ones. Great numbers overall. It was just so great to see everybody in person, always putting those faces to the chat names. And I see so many of you guys in the chat right now. It's just awesome. I just walked in the door like 25 minutes ago, got all the bags and everything, sat down, got the show ready, and here I am. So I'm still wearing my Canadian tuxedo and everything. I'm just so happy. Just such a good weekend. So much fun. How are you guys doing? Are you going to tell yourself about a conspiracy, John? No, what we're going to do tonight is do a little recap of Gart. I'm going to go through all the panels and just play like 5 to 7 minutes of each. There's like 11 things I'm going to show, including a little 5-minute clip of probably the best documentary I've ever seen. Like no shit. Brad's documentary is so damn good, and that's coming like I've produced 2 documentaries. I didn't put them together. Adam Riva did that, Dauntless Dialogue, and I love those things. And even being a lot biased, Brad's documentary blows out of the water. I cannot wait for those of you who have not seen this documentary to see this documentary. We're going to premiere it worldwide for everybody on this Sunday, so keep your eyes open for announcements on that. Very excited about it. But yeah, I will play a little clip of that. Did you save the overalls? I do still have the overalls. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the frayed jacket. That may have to go in the trash bin. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I do have some sponsors tonight. I got to get through those. What else was I going to say? I don't even remember. Patel, we need to discuss Trump's truth about election machines. You know, we'll save that for my show tomorrow. I'll be back to doing the Daily Herald every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, and back on the Power Hour on Wednesday. But yeah, anything else? Trash the overalls. Come on, guys. When in Deadwood. It's not like I wear them every day. I'm wearing a jean jacket. Yeah, we went to Mount Rushmore last night. A whole group of us. There's like, I don't know, 20, 25 of us maybe. And it got a little chilly. I was only wearing a t-shirt. And I was like, you know what? We have another like hour and a half here because we want to watch the nighttime lights go on. And so I decided to go inside the gift store and get myself a Mount Rushmore themed jean jacket. On the back of this thing is, I see my back crack when I turned like that too. It was great. Also yesterday we went and got some great pictures. Let's see if I can find some of these. They're just so good. We went and got those old-timey photos or whatever. I don't know if these are, I got too many files on here. I'll see if I get those pulled up and I'll do that later. But anyway, let's get to the first couple of our sponsors and then I'll get right to it. Get right to the Gart recap stuff, some of the clips. And remember, guys, if you didn't get a virtual ticket or you didn't attend in person, you are still able to get access to all the panels. Replays of all the panels are available now. And the documentary itself, you can get it tonight going to badlandsmedia.tv/events. Get your virtual ticket. Black Hat Destroyer, did you transition back from being Woody from Toy Story? Yeah. Hey, I'm proud of what I wore this weekend. You know, it is what it is. It's not every day you get propositioned by a swinger because of your jacket. But I get to tell that story now because it happened to me. First up, we got some Bear Bars. Have we been duped, guys? We're all trying to get healthier, grabbing protein bars that look healthy, but do you actually know what's in those things? It's mostly junk. One comparison found a fast food burger was actually healthier than a protein bar, your typical protein bar. That's why I'm all about this new Bear Bar. It's what you thought you were getting in a protein bar. Real food, minimal ingredients, no mystery additives. The Bear Bar is literally just beef protein, tallow, honey, and salt. That's it. All real food. It's unbelievable that it doesn't taste like garbage. 20 grams of clean grass-fed beef protein. It doesn't taste like beef, though. Light, fluffy texture, not a gut bomb like other protein bars. It's naturally sweet, easy on your stomach. And again, it doesn't taste like garbage. Bear Bar got it right. High-quality protein bar without the junk. You got to give it a shot. And I can get you a 15% discount. Use code BASELESS at getbearbars.com. That's code BASELESS at getbearbars.com. Thank you to Bear Bars for being one of the sponsors of tonight's show. I'm also going to do a quick one from Save Pulse. Good friends over at Save Pulse. Save Pulse is dedicated to keeping you and your family healthy with top quality medications like amoxicillin, azithromycin, ivermectin, and hydroxychloroquine at unbeatable prices. The streamlined ordering process makes it easy to stock up on all your health essentials. And now with exciting news about fenbendazole showing promise in cancer research, they proudly offer this alongside other antibiotics and viral care meds. Don't wait. Prepare for any health scenario today. Get your supply and stay ahead of the curve with Save Pulse. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/meds. Use promo code SAVEHEALTH at checkout to get a 20% discount on orders over $100. All right, guys. I'll keep an eye on the chat as I'm playing some of these clips. And the first panel we had this weekend was, I believe this is the right one. Yeah, Future Manifest Destiny. This Matt Ehret was supposed to be on this panel, but he had some troubles. And keep him in your prayers because he's still got to go back. I think he's heading back tomorrow. And the troubles will continue. All of Canada, their flight attendants, Canada Air, flight attendants are on strike. And so he's got I think he said like 5 different flights or something. I think he's going from Deadwood or Rapid City to Denver to another hub. Like he's going all over just to get home. But anyway, he couldn't make this panel. So we had Alpha fill in for him. And it was a really good one. I'm just going to start at the beginning. I'm going to play like, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. And then we'll go to the next one. So I'll be right here. I'll be right back. Abby and Ash killed it with the prayers and the singing. I was lame, so I'm just gonna skip that and let's go right here.
I think elevates our stature and gives us more street cred, so I'm all about it. Thoughts and prayers with Matt. He will be here, I think, later today. So this panel is the future of Manifest Destiny. I like the fact that we're starting with the future of Manifest Destiny and we're ending with the future of the past on Sunday. If Matt were here, he would have a lot to say about this. Obviously, with the Golden Age, he would talk about the Intercontinental Railroad and the collaboration between Russia and the United States during the 19th century and how we helped them build the railroad in Russia at the same time that we were building the railroad across the West. But Alpha asked me, like, what is Manifest Destiny? It's a great question. Manifest Destiny was the entire spirit of the movement of America to create America, carve it out from this raw wilderness in the 19th century, in the 1800s. The Oregon Trail, the 49er Gold Rush, like all of that, the thing that drove us to populate, not just California, because California, I think, was being populated from, Asia and Mexico already, but really the center of the country, like the Midwest, because people, as they moved west, would lay down their things and stake their claims. So I'll kind of open it up. I have my own idea of what I think I'd like to discuss with this, not just Golden Age stuff, but I'll open it up to others. I think I know where G Money's going to go with this. Let's start with G Money.
Why you got to pick on me, man?
No, I want to hear it.
I feel like a God King up here. It's so high. I don't know. No, look, I think Manifest Destiny is such an important topic on where we're going in the future. But I think we need to, as a movement itself, like recalibrate our targeting systems, recalibrate our consciousness, and recalibrate who the enemy really is before we can get there and we know where we're going, right? And so I think a lot of people in this movement, the MAGA movement especially, have this idea that Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and your liberal neighbor across the way are your enemy, okay? And I think we need to really kind of like that's a lower frequency, okay? That's a way lower frequency in where we're going. And so we need to recognize that the enemy is actually the state, okay? And that the evil and the corruptness and all these different things are just a symptom of this underlying disease. And so we have to understand the root cause of all this evil and all this corruption, because the arrest of Hillary Clinton, the arrest of Barack Obama ain't gonna provide any meaningfulness to any of your lives, okay? And so what does that mean? Like, how do we get to that next level? And so understanding these systems, right? And understanding that you are basically in a concentration camp, okay? And how do we get out of those old ideals, okay? Because I think a lot of people are like concerned with changing the wallpaper on the old building that's being torn down while we're building foundation on truth, sovereignty, prosperity, abundance. And so those lower level vibrations of arguing with liberals and hoping Obama gets arrested, like is really not the direction we need to be going. Manifest Destiny is about bringing humans into the next world through technology, okay, so that we can live independently and we can remove ourselves from these systems of control. Because these systems of control have kept humanity actually down from these new technologies. They've suppressed all of this information, and they've convinced you it's okay to be a slave. It's okay to continually trust these people. And so I think we need to start with that by just recognizing like what the problem actually is, and then where we're going in that new world.
Yeah, so I'm actually really glad to hear you say that, G, because very well said. The Golden Age is something that we talk about a lot, and there's a lot of excitement because there's so many unknowns and there's so much potential. And I think the unrealized potential, and especially with technology and how that could fundamentally change our civilization, is reason for excitement. But to your point, I view Manifest Destiny, like seizing the opportunity, carpe diem, like seizing the moment, as actually the reckoning, so to speak, like rectifying the situation, like rectifying the wrongs, righting the wrongs of this concentration camp, as you put it, that we live in. And I've been saying the same thing lately, like the arrests of the people at this point feels like it's not going to be catharsis, because given all the years that have passed, it could easily just be the system cutting off its dead limbs basically to survive, right? And it's like, is Hillary Clinton going to jail really going to impact your life? Is it really going to make your life? It's going to make you feel good. And in some ways, it's a sign of like justice, but is it actually justice like manifesting? Because I think that us seizing this moment, like God putting all of us here in this moment, which I don't think is a coincidence. I don't think it is like a random act. It's to do this one thing so that forever in the future, people will look back and say that one thing was done and it was done right. Because if we don't do it right, if we don't rip out the whole root of evil, and get to the bottom of it, whether those are institutions or secret societies or whatever it is, then our children's children will not be free. They will still live in the concentration camp.
I think I'm going to stop it there, guys. I think it's a good ending point. But this is a really good panel. All the panels are really good, in my opinion. I thought they were great. Before I get to the next one, I want to show you some of those old-timey photos that we took because they're hilarious. Let's see. We got this one. I think this is a whole crew, or all the Badlands people. Anybody who appears on the Badlands show is in this panel. I mean, minus, Zach wasn't there. There's some people that didn't come with us to take the photos. They had other stuff they were doing, but this was cool. We got some fun ones too. I think G posted this one. And then some of my personal favorites besides those, the ones that we did for the DPH. Maybe I shouldn't even show these yet. Maybe I'll save that. I'll save it for the DPH probably. So we'll talk about this. Yeah, guys, I know it's not a conspiracy. We're just doing a recap every Monday after Gart in place of Baseless Conspiracies, because typically Zach is traveling. I will do this stream, the recap stream for Gart. So don't get your panties all in a bunch. Let's see what we got next. Next, we had the future of entertainment. This is a fun one.
I have warned John.
I'm gonna. JB does like a really good intro here, but I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to talk. So I'm just gonna go to the end of what he says. It's 4 minutes long. We'll go out to here, and then we'll play about 5 minutes of it. Future of entertainment.
And he believes in dollar dominance. And they were very clear at that Bitcoin conference on how they're going to maintain dollar dominance, and that's going to be through stable coins. So he's got a plan, and he ain't trying to blow up the nation state, and he's not trying to have us go all in on Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin, I have some. But we have to moderate some of these, to me, discussions about how we're going.
I think next Gart, we're gonna have to put G Money and JB on a panel together. I think that could be a fun one.
Forward and how all of this stuff is going to play out. Best interact with these normies who we are right now trying to show this has been the wrong path. These are the people who have led us down the wrong path, and this is how we as a nation state are going to correct those wrongs and bring accountability to the wrongdoers. So I just wanted to start out our entertainment discussion with that.
I think overall that's a great representation of what Badlands is. It's a very diversity of thought, and we allow each other to think in different avenues and even take them to the extremes. And I'm sure the truth sometimes probably lies in a combination of a lot of our theories all over the place, right? No one knows truly what Donald Trump is thinking. I probably lean a little closer to JB, but a little more towards the middle overall. But I think that is a good, I love the point you're saying overall about the entertainment factor, right? It is entertaining to watch Donald Trump. And it's kind of replaced a lot of the entertainment that we used to kind of live our lives around, right? All of us here, the movies, the music, sports. I've loved all three of those things, even literature. I'm an avid reader of fiction for a long time in my life. And a lot of that has been replaced by the desire to actually know what's going on in the world, to get involved in our politics that they have depended on us being ignorant of. And Donald Trump was the perfect leader for this because he is entertaining. but he's also very smart. And so you get the perfect combination where you're being entertained by him dressing these people down, which is something that's needed to happen for a long time. But he's also giving us a lot of information all the time. The things he says are important. And there's something I really noticed during the first administration, we're seeing it again now, and we got to see the opposite with Joe Biden is you were always informed as to what was going on in the White House. When Joe Biden was in, no one knew anything unless you were just reading his EOs or trying to look at what he was passing. There was no other avenue to know what was going on. Donald Trump, he stands out there every single day. I'm working on this.
Whoa, something just happened. Hold on. I accidentally pressed the wrong button. I was trying to type in the chat, and I still had my StreamYard open, and it took this out. So apologies. Right back to it.
Is bringing the American people into the forefront, and that's why I think he is the perfect person to do it, and it is very entertaining.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, Brad. Entertainment is intertwined in our lives. I mean, whether we admit it or not, you know, we watch TV, we see movies. I mean, even what we do here at Badlands is entertainment. You know, we've got a purpose. We're digging and we're giving you information, but we're also trying to be entertaining about it. I know one of the things I love about coming to Gart and, you know, hanging out with all these guys is just the senses of humor everybody has. We're all unique people, but it's amazing how we can all laugh and enjoy saving the country and saving the world. And I think that's what Donald Trump absolutely brings. And, you know, when I was thinking about this panel, I was thinking about, okay, the future of entertainment. You know, the old entertainment machine, you know, if you want to call it, you were talking everything from music and movies and TV to even professional sports. It's been feeding us for decades nothing but distraction and propaganda, and it didn't used to be that way. In the early days, there was morals, there was a message, you know, to everything, and now it's just, a lot of us would agree, a lot of it is garbage. But you know, when I was thinking, I'm like, are we taking back the old system, or are we going to build a parallel entertainment, you know, ecosystem, if you will? And I don't know, or is it a combination of the two? So I thought about Donald Trump, and I said, well, he's kind of my signal. You know, I looked at Donald Trump for a signal because he's leading our movement. And this is going to sound silly, but one of the things that keeps grabbing me is the entire year of 2024, YMCA, right? Okay, so this is arguably the gayest song ever written by arguably the gayest band that's ever graced the music industry. And certainly not something you'd expect a conservative, you know, populist movement to embrace. And yet Donald Trump blasted that at every rally. He blasted it at the RNC. He even had the freaking Village people come to the inauguration, right?
They love him.
Yeah, they love him, right? So to me, what that signaled was a message that we are not conceding an inch of our cultural ground. And we are going to take it back. You don't even get the gayest 70s cosplay disco band that there ever was. We're taking that too. So, and there's nothing to me, you guys know I'm a fan of punk rock, and punk rock was all about bucking the system and questioning authority. It taught me a lot of the principles that I became red pilled, you know, back in the 80s on. And nobody's more punk rock than Donald Trump. So we need to just follow his lead, have fun saving this world, and you know, take back the entertainment. Because if we take back entertainment, we take back our culture. And if we take back our culture, we take our future. We handle our future.
Well said. And I'm going to save you guys from what Chris Paul says, because it's probably not that good. But no, we are at the time limit for this panel. And so if you guys want to listen to what Chris Paul says, you got to get your virtual ticket. I saw a couple comments in the chat. Gart is over. Most of the people are traveling home. I just walked in the door before the show started. So we're just doing a quick recap like we typically do after Gart. For those who are interested in Brad's documentary, which, no joke, guys, Brad's documentary is going to change the landscape in the info war. It's such good red pill material. There was actually, it's Ash's husband's. I wish she was on here. She may stop by later. But her husband was a New Yorker from New York, didn't believe any of the conspiracies. And I may be butchering this story, so apologies, Ash, and your husband, if I am. He went into it with an open mind and came away questioning things. Like, this is so good. It's so good for the normies. It's so, not saying that Ash's husband is a normie. I'm just saying generally, it's so good for the normies. Can't wait for you to see it. I'm going to keep talking about it. But you can watch that right now with a virtual ticket, or on Sunday, it's going to be free and available to everybody. There's just a couple things we got to get ready and lined up, but we think Sunday's the best day to do it. We're going to do it. And then following that show, after the airing of the documentary, Brad is going to be on with Burning Bright on the narrative to discuss it. So should be a good time. Now let's jump over to the Future of Health panel. Another good one. Get this rolling here. I think this was after lunch on Friday.
All right.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the future of health, for me, it boils down to one thing, and that is hyper self-responsibility. Hyper self-responsibility. And under self-responsibility comes two things. Number one is self-education. Number two is discipline. It's often said that knowledge is power, but if you don't apply that knowledge, you're not going to get anywhere. So knowledge is really just potential, and the applied knowledge is what is power. And when it comes to hyper self-responsibility, that means having to make the effort to educate yourself, because of course the medical industrial complex is not going to do that for us. They're not even going to educate doctors, the health professionals, about what health truly is. So how can we expect that to go down the grapevine to us? So it's going to require expending a few hours every so often to learn about nutrition, learn about movement, learn about different diets and habits, lifestyle choices, things like that. So self-education. And then comes the discipline part. You have to actually apply that knowledge and be disciplined to achieve whatever health goals you're trying to achieve. So discipline means I'm going to do what I need to do to remember to drink freaking water. I'm going to do what I need to do to get active. Whether it's just going on a walk, going on a hike, setting your alarm, getting into the gym, doing racquetball at the local YMCA, whatever it is to get yourself active, you have to have the...
Do people still play racquetball? Like, is that still a thing? And why did Jordan use that as an example? I don't know why. I just noticed that, and I find that weird.
Discipline to apply those things, because it's not about motivation. Motivation comes and goes, it ebbs and flows. Motivation doesn't really get you anywhere. It's the discipline that we need. And with discipline, doing the thing you need to do every day, whether you not like it or not, that's where motivation comes from. Once you start seeing results of feeling better, looking better, sleeping better, thinking better, then you get more motivated to continue doing what you need to do. So those two things, education, self-education, and the discipline aspect, come under that umbrella of self-responsibility. And that's where I think the future of health is headed. Self-responsibility, which leads to self-accountability. You have to be honest with yourself, not in denial of your choices. Admit, oh, okay, I drank a little bit too much caffeine, a little bit too much booze, I haven't been eating right, haven't been moving. No wonder I feel like crap. So there's the self-accountability part of it. And also self-reliance. If you grow your own food, if you work in local networks to get raw milk and eggs and grass-fed beef with each other, you're going to have not just a healthier individual, but a healthier community doing that self-reliance outside of depending on big brother, big government, big corporations to feed you and tell you how to live. So the future of health is hyper self-responsibility, and we're already headed in that direction. Everybody knows that big pharma sucks. No profit in healthy people, no profit in cures. They want to keep you, no profit in dead people either. That's why they just want to keep you sick. They don't want to kill you. They don't want you to be healthy either. They just want you to be sick so you keep coming back from work. We already know that. We can go on and on and on about the past, how we've gotten here with Rockefeller medicine and allopathic Western medicine, sick care system. But if we're going to focus on the future and actually change that, we need that knowledge. We need that education. We also need to be hyper self-aware, understanding of our own situations, because the same diet doesn't apply to everybody. You see, 15 years ago, veganism was a big fad, and now it's carnivore is a big fad. But I don't agree with the people that sell you on the idea that one diet is what everybody needs to do. We all have different backgrounds, different situations, different environments, different metabolisms, different ancestry. So learning about how each diet can be applied to each situation. Some days I'm vegan, some days I'm carnivore, some days I'm a mix between the two. It depends on what's going on in my life and what diet best needs to be applied, because it's just a tool. Same thing with exercises. There's certain exercises where you think, oh, that's helping that person, it must help me. But your body might be different. So that exercise could actually exacerbate some imbalances and cause more pain than actually strength. So it requires a lot of self-analysis, self-understanding, self-awareness, and also education, so you know how different tools can be applied to different situations, whether it's a diet, a supplement, whatever. So future of health is hyper self-responsibility.
I totally agree with everything Jordan just said, but like in my field, in chiropractic, I'm dealing with patients every day and trying to give them really good practical advice, simple things that they can do to help them help themselves, so they're not reliant on me or any other doctor. The problem is compliance, and you talk to any doctor, and that's like the most frustrating thing, because your patients will come back and be complaining again, and then you're like, well, did you do this? Did you do that? No, I didn't. So when I think of the term, make America healthy again, I was kind of thinking about it, and I said, okay, America, not make a few really motivated individuals healthy again, but make America healthy again. So how do we get everybody in this country to sign on to what Jordan was talking about, personal responsibility? The first step is obviously exposure. People needed to wake up to the medical industrial complex and all the evils of it, and how it's kept us sick rather than healthy, and how, just the term healthcare just makes me laugh, when they talk about, oh, healthcare is a right and this and that. I'm like, it's sickness care. They're keeping you sick so they can profit off you. And I do think that COVID was the prime, it was a horrible thing we all went through, but it basically gave us the blueprint for how to fix the system. Because in COVID, we had centralized top-down mandates in care, and we need to have decentralized care. We need to have personal responsibility. We had profits over the patients, profits over people, and we need to have doctors and people that are in it for the right reasons and aren't just trying to sell people a bill of goods and keeping them sick. We also had fear used as a public health tool, and as long as they kept people in fear, people will just do whatever you say, right?
All right, I'm gonna stop it here on this panel because I saw the Rumble rant that we got from Babbage. It's Gart meme number 1, so I'm very much looking forward to other memes as well. But this is so darn funny. You guys remember the ghost calendar? Let me see if I can pull that up first. Badlandsmedia.tv. Let's go to, is it Ghost? Maybe it's just /ghost. Hold on. Maybe you should have looked this up first. Come on, that's loading. Hold for processing. Yeah, here we go. The ghost calendar, right? So there's the meme where he fell asleep on that sweet lady's shoulder. Well, she returned to Gart this time around, and they reenacted the meme, and Babbage put this together. It's so funny. Prom 2025, make the memory. Gart. It's a reenactment. This is from Deadwood. Like this last weekend. So funny. The best part about it too is when these two met, because Ghost didn't realize she was there when they met. It like we had to tell Ghost, like, this is the lady you fell asleep on. He didn't recognize her, because obviously when he met her, he was asleep, passed out. But she is so funny. She was great. I don't want to say her name and dox her, but it was a good time. Anyway, thank you, Babbage, for that meme. That is hilarious. Let's go to the next panel. This was an interesting one, I thought. The future of work. I got to be honest, so again, a little biased, but let's check it out. I think we're going to kick off our next panel, and I believe mostly this is going to be just me and Burning Bright mansplaining what it means to like get a hard day's work into these women over here.
Swinging axe around. It's one way we could do it, or we could do something different.
How combative she's already getting. Just like typical
Well, he
woman
started
stuff. My mic seems very loud. Is it very loud? Is my mic very
Turn his mic off.
Yeah, can we mute him? But no, Ash, if you have a different idea, you can go for it.
You want to lead us?
Well, I'll start with my thoughts on future of work, but first, happy birthday, Claire. Happy birthday. So, future of
By the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, or maybe I didn't mention it, but I didn't forget. What am I saying? I'm like delusionally tired, guys, right now. During this Gart, there were lots of shenanigans. We had 2 dildos thrown on stage this weekend, and the person that Ash just wished happy birthday to, I'm fairly certain, is the Claire, not Claire Cat. Don't get confused with Claire Cat. But the Claire that she wished her birthday to is the one who bought the first dildo. I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it was the one that was thrown on stage during the DPH. I don't remember. But anyway, happy birthday, Claire. There were a few birthdays throughout the Gart weekend. It was great. One of them was Burning Brights, unfortunately. Anyway, here we go.
work was in around 2014, 2015, the topic at Davos was megatrends. They were talking about what the future is going to look like. And a lot of the key trends, there was pandemic preparedness in there, which I've talked about on the air before, but it was AI and machine learning and automation and robotics and how it's going to replace the need for human workers and how we're going to need, basically leading towards we're going to need universal basic income because there's not going to be enough jobs. And this is, again, 2014, 2015. Now we're, a decade later, and we're hearing about AI and machine learning and how automation and robotics is going to replace human workers. And I think that that's, are they really, really good at predicting stuff, or are we living the world they built?
Well, this is an interesting topic. I was actually talking about this a little bit earlier. I think Chris had said something like this, that, we've been talking about the Great Reset forever. A lot of us have been talking about that. I've been using a term for a few years, a good reset. And then what Chris talks about a lot is the idea that we're sort of drafting off of the Great Reset. And I think these are some of the most interesting conversations because when you're laying out the Weffian agenda, it's inarguable that that is their agenda. And it's inarguable that if you kind of look at the unfolding reality around us, a lot of the building blocks seemingly of that agenda are being put in place. But as a central premise that a lot of us take, one of the reasons I end up on optimistic sides of these conversations a lot is because the people, if we're wrong, not about technology, but more so about Patriot plans, people's intentions, the Trump administration, et cetera, then we're biblically fucked. Like, we all kind of understand that, right? And the reason I bring that up is they are full bore pushing us into all of the building blocks of that Weffian agenda. And I don't see that as dystopian. I think what's going on here is that they did want to, they meaning the enemy, did want to slow roll us into this sort of funnel of technological progression disguised as human progress. But to your point, they wanted to control every aspect of that, take our jobs away, et cetera. So the question becomes, if we're talking about the future of work, which coincides with technology and economy and money and all of that, why would Trump and team seemingly be accelerating AI data center production, accelerating contracts on all of these fronts, automation and all the rest of it, if it's going to be bad? And what I come away with is saying it's only bad if the other side of what humans do in technological progressions is stopped. So in other words, if you're the globalists and you basically are creating the society of the future, you're basically allowed to retard human growth, put us all into this new pen that they control,
Yep.
So if Trump's kind of leading us the way there, pushing into AI, automation and all that, to me, it means that the ceiling that they were going to put on us is being removed. And why I'm excited is that, ironically, I think it's almost impossible for us to really conceptualize right now, 10 years from now, the future of work in a good way. I think that would have been a very bad thing if it was a Weffian agenda. But I think under Trump, you know, they are actually trying to free up human time to see what we can then do with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to adapt or we will be left behind. So there's always this fine balance with technology, and technology is involved in our workspace now. It's just here. There's not much we can do about it.
Oh yeah, for those who don't know, there's a drinking game for Burning Bright every time he talks for over 3 minutes. And if everybody would have been playing, we would have had no survivors at Gart. I just want to point that out. Zero survivors. You have to finish your drink, I believe, every time he talks for 3 minutes. There were at least like 50 instances between his panels, the DPH, and him just taking the mic and asking a question or doing his little trivia thing. Everybody dead, all of us.
But just like the Force, it can be used for good or evil. So I believe we need to adapt and use it for good.
Except maybe Gordon. Ghost of Base Patrick Henry may have survived. He would be the only one.
So don't be afraid of change. Like maybe it was General Quast that said it once, but when Nikola Tesla first discovered alternating current, Edison, he went out and had people do demonstrations of animals in cages and shocked them to scare the public of an innovation that we're using all around us, right? So I would say this, don't be afraid of these new technologies, but don't serve them like your master. Use them for good. Use the same technologies. And just to put on top of that, you know, the deep state really didn't like the idea of the internet. They didn't like the idea of social media and of us getting together. So basically, you know, educate yourself in that. But yeah, I do believe the future of work, we need to evolve with it. Because if we stay, we're going to be left behind and put in another cage again.
So yesterday we went golfing. I don't know if you guys heard about this. I beat Brian by quite a bit. But we were on one of the holes. I think it might have been even the first hole. On the hole next to us, they had this little like Roomba that was mowing the grass. Like, so instead of having somebody there on a lawnmower mowing, they had a little AI-driven robot Roomba thing that was mowing the grass on the green. Okay. And then just earlier before we came up here, we were talking to Chris, and he was talking about the future of work and how someday down the road he's going to go to Menards or some Lowe's, Home Depot or something. And it used to be the place where you pick up your Mexican to come do the labor for you. But now you're going to pick up a Optimus bot, and you're going to bring him home. He's going to do labor for you. Then you're going to take him back and return him. You're going to like rent him. And I could see a future potentially where, you know, we think of AI and technological advances, and it's mostly just like, okay, learn to code. It's going to make things easier. But there are also physical labor things that I think we could potentially see AI and robots take work away from us as well. And I'm not sure yet. I'm afraid of the technological advancements. Not maybe afraid is a strong word, but I can still see a future where they all take over and kill us all and take over all our jobs. Like, that is not off the table yet.
Yeah,
We'll stop it there with my fear reporting. But yeah, this is a fun panel. And I want to get to my two other sponsors real quick before I keep going with the rest of these panels, because I feel like I'm going to fall asleep and forget. And if for some reason I just let a stream go for like more than 10 minutes, it's probably because I passed out in my chair here. But we got two quick words from Chef Man. These products are so awesome. We got 2 ads on the show tonight. First up, we got some Chef IQ Sense. This is Zach's video, but he's not here to read. So I'm going to read it for him. Guys, the Chef IQ Sense. This thing is amazing. All their products are. You know the moment of truth when everyone sits down at the table and you brace yourself while they cut into their meat? Will there be raw chicken drama? Did I just ruin $100 worth of steaks? How bad does the salmonella get? Yeah, that's all changed with Chef IQ Sense. It's the wireless cooking thermometer that turns you into a master chef. It works for all types of cooking, grilling, pan searing, roasting, everything. It's so easy. You just insert the sensor into your steak, chicken, fish, whatever it is you're cooking. Open the Chef IQ app, choose how you want it cooked, rare, medium, well done, any preference with multiple probes. Everyone gets exactly what they want. And you sit back and relax. It sends real-time updates, tells you when to flip, when to take it off, even how long to let it rest. It's like having a culinary coach in your pocket. No more guessing, no more lid lifting, no more dinner disasters. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Let's just say that. You can get 15% off the Chef IQ Sense right now using code BASELESS at chefiq.com. Chef IQ Sense is precision cooking for everyone. You'll wonder how you ever cooked without it. Promo code BASELESS, chefiq.com. And we also got, and this one I'm very excited about, and even more excited about it than I am, is my kids. It's the slushie maker. Kids love this thing. We do like a slushie a day, pretty much. We almost brought this with the Gart for drinks, but I didn't have room in my car. I'm glad I didn't have room in my car to bring this with down, because we never would have been able to bring it back. My thing was loaded to the gills. It was nuts. But anyway, the Chef IQ, or the Chef Man slushie, they have a flash sale right now. It just got flashy. They kicked off summer with the Chef Man Pebble Ice Maker, the genius countertop ice machine that makes small pebble-sized ice with soft, chewable texture without taking up a tons of space. And you can still get the flash sale on that Pebble Ice Maker, by the way. But the next Chef Man flash sale is with the slushie machine. This home slush machine has features like Pro machines do, but it's made just for your home. I can guarantee you that it'll be the hit of the summer for everybody. All the neighborhood kids that come over to hang out with my kids, play in our backyard, they're always asking for the slushies. It's awesome. This is what it can do. Makes frozen slushies with your favorite juices, sodas, or any other tasty drinks. Boozies as well. You can put booze in it. Kids will love it. Makes frappier frappes than the best frozen coffee drinks you've ever had. After a hot day, it delights you with margaritas, daiquiris, mojitos, frosés made with your choice of liquor. Adults, you guys can have fun with this machine too. Super easy to use with one-touch buttons. I can vouch for that. My kids can work this thing. And the flash sale, again, they can save you a boatload of money. Go to chefman.com/baseless and use promo code baseless. That's chefman.com/baseless, promo code baseless. This thing is amazing and probably the most used thing in my house, appliance in my house, honestly. All right, let's do, what's next? Oh, we had the Q&A. This is a fun one. I probably won't, maybe, should I skip the Q&A or should I do the Q&A? You guys tell me. What do you want me to do? Oh yeah, that's it says something in the comment in the chat about Bernie Brett. When you notice Bernie Brett on stage, he his ADD comes through like real strong. He's like sitting there shaking his chair. That was pretty funny. No, I'm just gonna do a little bit of the Q&A. Guys, not everybody.
I just want June of 2012 had
Try to share the wealth a little bit. Let everybody get some words in. But here's the first one.
Hello, I'm from New York, but I don't live in New York. I live on Long Island. And I just want to say that I have had noticeable changes on Long Island and in New York, and I wanted to know if you guys noticed things about noticeable changes. One of the main things I saw that I thought was a very big deal was June of 2025 was very different than June of 2024. That Pride Month of disgusting people walking down naked on a parade in the city with children watching didn't exist or barely existed. I never heard of it. They're talking about changing that month into a Veterans Month. And I thought that that was a very big deal of a change in New York. And I wanted to know what other changes you saw that you thought maybe was a big deal recently.
So I can just say in a general sense around the country, I think it's pretty obvious that people have really rejected the woke ideology. Everything that was pushed on us was pushed to such a degree of exhaustion. And it's been wonderful to see that. And also it's been great calling my friends fags and retards again. But, you know, living in Florida, I have a unique perspective. You know, I mean, most of the people that I'm around are pretty based already, but I'd love to hear from people who are in different areas of the country.
Yeah, I would say in Colorado, one of the biggest changes from last year to this year is that the federal funding has been cut. So 40% of Colorado's budget is federal funding. So you're all paying for Colorado. And right now they have a $1.2 billion budget deficit. Now they're all freaking out and blaming Trump and blaming the Republicans for, shooting a massive $1.2 billion hole into the state budget. But the reality is that the rest of the country should not be subsidizing, for example, transgender face contouring and top and bottom surgery. And that's, potentially going to end. But, of course, they're talking about raising revenue and not cutting spending. So we'll see what happens.
One thing I do want to point out, just to be a contrarian, is I do think there are going to be some rug pulls here. G Money's not on stage, but I will be the rug pull narrator here. I do think that keep an eye on Virginia. I'm going to go ahead and just call the Virginia race. We have a race for the governorship in November. I'm just going to go ahead. Badlands is officially calling the race. Abigail Spanberger is probably going to be the governor of Virginia come January 2026. Winsome Sears, who's the lieutenant governor under Youngkin, has done nothing in terms of campaigning or promotion. I barely even realized that she was the candidate. Abigail Spanberger signs are everywhere. So I do think there's going to be a rug pull, and I hope that the entire country stops and says, how the hell did that happen? And it has everything to do with the Ron DeSantis op, right? Winsome Sears, by the way, right after the 2022 midterms, came out and said, we need to dump Trump and get on DeSantis. And that was when Trump came out and said, Youngkin has a really weird name. It sounds Chinese or something. Remember?
I'll say in the beautiful state that everybody wants to abandon of California, we had Los Angeles try to kick off the illegal riots. And Trump came through and said, no, it's not going to happen. So seeing that California has tried to weaponize these trends that are going to go from one coast to the other coast, and seeing that, HSI and Border Patrol was able to come in and stop that and prevent it from being a forest fire across the nation, I thought that was pretty solid.
Hi, guys. Hi, guys. I haven't gotten to say hi to my community and online. So Jordan, are you up there? Because I think this is most specific to you, but any of you can answer. And I meant to ask this during MAHA. There's been a lot coming out about treatments and preventativeness for Alzheimer's and dementia. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that. One of them is ivermectin. I think another one was nicotine. And there was another, and I can't remember. But as some of you know, I take full-time care of my mom with dementia. And if there's any kind of thought to something I could help slow down or even cut off and give her a little better life, just wanted to see what your thoughts were with any of the new treatments or thoughts that people are coming out with.
You gotta go in front of us. Yeah. Okay, story time. Back when I was working at the health food store, 2012 timeframe, in the Pacific Northwest, out of Hood River, there was a company called Maxim, M-A-X-A-M, Nutraceutics. And they developed a spray that was an incredibly powerful chelating spray.
All right, not to take away from what Jordan's going to say here, it's really good stuff. You're just going to take the virtual ticket to watch. I do want to skip ahead to this next panel. I'm going to play a couple seconds here, and then I'm going to skip forward to what Quast has to say, because I see some people in the chat wanted to hear what Quast had to say. Watch Jordan's reflexes here.
JB, the last time we were on a panel.
Uh-oh. We need some encouragement from the crowd.
This is not the WNBA, guys.
Who the hell? What the hell? Get that thing out of here.
I didn't mean to touch that. It was just a reaction.
You caught that.
You have
need some
Do you see how quick his reaction was to this? And how slow JB's was into realizing what this was? Watch his reaction here.
JB, the last time we were on a panel.
Like his natural, that was just way too natural. in my opinion. But yes, that is the first dildo that was thrown on the Gart stage this weekend, the first of two.
Uh-oh.
But I'm going to skip ahead to where Quas starts talking.
We need some encouragement from the crowd.
This is not the WNBA, guys.
Who the hell? What the hell?
Of the content providers on. Hey, gentlemen, this is a great panel. I've been looking forward to this one ever since I discovered you were going to talk about it. And I know we've talked about it in all of the content providers on many different levels. Something to just consider as you are diving into this is the intelligence community right now is struggling with three problems. The first problem you've identified, and that is the business of being a business of spying, if you will, requires the human touch. So the technology is going to be limited because technology can be distorted. The human element, the intuition, the spidey senses of a human being has to be there. But when you have that secrecy, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and the human condition will always make it corrupt. But they're struggling with the first, and that is speed. The system is set up where they can't move fast. The analysis will tell you that there's about a 2-year delay between something that is going to harm America. By the time it gets to the proper people in America, it's too late. 2-year latency in the flash to bang, because 18 organizations have to agree on the interpretation of the facts before it goes forward. So ultimately, that's the first one they're struggling with. The second is open source. Like you pointed out, they don't have mechanisms for open source that are adequate. They are still in these stovepipes that look too narrowly through a soda straw of one little event that doesn't put it together in the broader context. So it's structured for an industrial age, not the networked age we're in. So, the question is, how do we reimagine an intelligence community, which is essential because nothing has changed, nothing is new under the sun. When Sun Tzu talked about spies, which is the essence of the intelligence community, there are 5 kinds of spies, and those spies can't know about one another, and even the leadership can't know about them. There are local spies, there are inward spies, there are doomed spies, there are surviving spies, and then there are converted spies, or the ones that are, double agents. Those 5 types of spies make up all of our intelligence organizations, and they don't know who each other are, and the puppet masters of the spy organizations are trapped in this old age. So when I think about this, the questions I'd love you to kind of pontificate on are, because we live in a world where speed is life, and these soda straws of identifying a point of fact in a foreign country that could be a threat to America, burbling up to action is a disaster, and it has to change. When we reimagine this, how do we have this secrecy, which is essential to the business of spying in the human domain, understanding the heart and intent of our enemies? How do we mechanize it so that that we don't let it grow into what it is now, where it is a weapon used against us, it enslaves us, and it tells stories and narratives that entrap us? And for me, the only suggestion I have is if we fix our elections, an elected official is the boss that actually is the one person that can actually look into all of these spy activities and then start getting rid of the corruption. But I don't know. So those are some things I'd like your reflection on. How do we reimagine the intelligence community to take advantage of the essential of spying, which is a human endeavor, not a technical endeavor? That technology is just a tool. And then how do we truly use our power as a people to have a refreshment of somebody with a moral heart and a belief in our values, redoing the spy business when it grows out of control, because it will, inevitably. There's no way of preventing it.
General, let me see what I say back to him. I do have a question real quick while you're there. The way I imagine the future of the intelligence community is, let's get rid of all these domestic agencies and do it with the military. The military has an outward-facing mission the way it is. So why can they not be the main focus of our intelligence apparatus? moving forward with the spies and engaging with foreign countries. And I'm curious, the DIA, it's really the one that I can think of, and the Space Force, I guess. How relevant and active is their role in intelligence gathering like today? And do you see a future where our military could have a more prominent role and we get rid of like the FBIs and the CIAs and all these other domestic agencies?
So I think that there is no limit to how we could reimagine this. And so I think that's a creative idea. Right now, though, congressional oversight prevents that from happening for some good reasons. And that is the business of spying is really ugly. And there are some, it's even like in the military, immoral things happen. Things that should not happen have to happen, like killing another person to protect our national security. Now, the tragedy is that we've been asked to kill another person for our national security, when in reality, it was just to make the politicians rich. That's the great tragedy of this system that has grown out of control. So when I think about your question, I think it could be designed that way, where you have a culture of morals and values in an organization as tight as the military, but then you need that civilian oversight, because even in the military, if you transition some of those spy activities that take place in these other agencies into the military, the human being doing it that has to have the money, the secrecy, and the deception, intentional immoral acts of deception in order to discover your enemy's intent and prevent disaster for our nation, it'll corrupt a person in the military just like it corrupts a person in that 17th organization that we can't talk about. So it is a human problem. This is a human nature problem. And no matter where you put, I agree, we can simplify it. We could put it in the military and it would work as long as the basic elements are there. But you still need that human intervention and oversight with a person outside that is not now part of the dysfunction, coming in, looking around and saying, that converted spy has to go away. That, that internal spy needs to be fired. You have to give it a haircut a lot, because human nature will become corrupt with all the power and the money that goes into that business.
Thank you. He is so freaking brilliant. We're so blessed, guys. I don't even think we fully understand how blessed we are to have him coming to all these conferences. He's a wealth of knowledge, him and Oak, and we have so many just great, brilliant people who attend these things, not just the ones on stage, but the people in the audience who come up and give their insight and their thoughts and their questions. Like, we love these Garts because of the community aspect. What you see on stage is just one small part of it. What happens out in the audience, with the audience, amongst the audience, that's what it's really all about. And I encourage you, I can't encourage you enough. If you haven't before, try to come to a Gart. It's truly a life-changing experience, and everybody who's been to one can vouch for that. We're going to get to this next one here, and then this is the future of InfoWaring. After this panel, I'm going to play a brief clip from Codex 9/11, the best documentary of all time. And as Brittany Bright said in the chat, we are not overselling this documentary, guys. Like, it's so damn good. So good. Can't wait. We'll do that one after this brief clip from Future of InfoWaring.
So this panel on InfoWar, I am stoked about, because me and Alpha talk about it all the time, 5th generation warfare. Does anybody know the story of General John Magruder and the siege of Yorktown? General Magruder he was in command of a platoon, or whatever, of Confederate troops, and he had really small numbers. And in order to, he took his troops and ordered them to walk in front of a Union post where they were within sight. And in order to hide the numbers, those same troops that he had walking in came back around, circled back around, and then walked in front again, and then walked in front again and again, until they could get reinforcements. That gave the perception to the Union soldiers, to the Union generals, that they had more numbers than they actually had. And I think that is something that we're starting to see. President Trump, when he was at the the Al Wilson dinner, or whatever it is, the Catholic dinner they do in DC. Oh, yeah. When he said, there you go. When he said that, he thinks the country's 75% for him, 25% the other way. I tend to believe that numbers, but the polls, which is the Union troops kind of walking in circles to conflate numbers, tell us that it's still a 50-50 country. It's absolutely not. One of the biggest revelations to me in the last, well, in terms of the culture and everything, was the Sydney Sweeney, Dylan Mulvaney comparison. So you look at what happened with Bud Light when they, did their thing with Mulvaney. They lost, I think it was over $1.5 billion, maybe more than that. Their stock fell 7-8%. And on the flip side of that, you saw Sydney Sweeney come out and, something that everybody considered controversial apparently, because it's not, a overweight person or a plus size model or black or gay or trans. And it was just an American, and their stock skyrocketed. So when I see things like that taking place, but at the same time, they're telling us that we're still a 50-50 country and that we still want this woke ideology, the DEI and all that stuff, that to me is one of the foundations that shows us that we actually are the majority in this. We just don't have the resources and the assets yet, although it's in development. And things like Rumble, Badlands Media, a lot of the, the X platform, Truth Social, it's starting to give us that ammunition that we need in this 5th gen war, this psychological warfare that we're engaged in. And yeah, man, I think that this is going to be a good panel, so I'll pass it on.
Yeah, no, that was a very good way to start this up. And I'm so glad to be here. And I'm still a little...
We're happy you're here.
Thank you for the love, guys. I really, really appreciate it and needed it. I needed that so badly because it's been an ordeal. It's been tough. The original plan was to arrive here at like 11 a.m. on Thursday and nothing worked. So it turned into like a living through of the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles movie in some ways. But all that to say, what you just said, as far as the battle over perceptions and reality is really, really important. And information is information, but who is controlling the narrative, the principle around which how that information is being organized, and what's the intention? And we were told, I mean, I'm from Canada, as people know, we were told that anybody who doubts the consensus on what is this thing called COVID and what are the mandates are a fringe minority, fascist-leaning. That type of messaging was launched into our psyche every day in all of the mainstream Mockingbird media all the time. And people started falling into the trap of believing and self-isolating and atomizing themselves unnecessarily, not realizing that if they just spoke to that person right next to them in line or in the bus, because the buses were still running, even though we were all told we're not allowed to, we have to be at home before 8 p.m. at night for curfew, but yet buses were still packed with people. There were so many absurdities and self-contradictions that so many people were not asking questions until all of a sudden you get a bunch of truckers who say, well, you know what, we're not going to take this anymore. And you had this massive freedom convoy. And all of a sudden, 7 million Canadians just showed up and all across Canada saying, oh, I thought that I was alone, thinking that this is all bullshit. But actually, a lot of people think the exact same as I do. And reality showed that we were being lied to about the surveys and things like the Gallup poll system, right? That's been something that was innovated by the Rockefellers back in the earliest days of the Cold War, where George Gallup was an asset of Lawrence Rockefeller and had this innovation that we could use the idea of manipulating people's desire to be part of a team, to be part of a community, to not be thought that you're the weird one, right? That adaptable quality that sometimes is good, but usually will be used against us. We can use that by telling people that, 80% of Americans believe that we should drop nuclear bombs on a country like Japan or something, and all of a sudden people don't actually think that. Nobody wants that, but that when they read the Gallup polls, they will say, oh, I guess I don't want to sound like the weird one, so I'll say yes if I'm asked. And the same thing with COVID too, right? Like 80% of Canadians we were told believe you should be arrested for breaking COVID protocols. It was never true. So if we realize that the game is perception, but there's a higher reality that has nothing to do with what the oligarchy wants us to think, then we can actually start making creative changes in conformity with the future we deserve to have. So I thought the way you started it was very good.
We are glad you're here. So, and you got a story now. So that's awesome. You when I saw the concept for this panel, the future of infowaring, and are we doomed at psyops for forever? And I was like, yes, I definitely want in on that. And the last panel's discussion really set this one up also for a great conversation, especially when you get into the intelligence community of JB and his position on that. And he had a lot of time to think about it because he slept all night. So
Army can't hang.
thank you, Marine. So the intelligence community, it's not going away. And even if you dismantled the formal, the CIA, the NSA, the intelligence apparatus itself is never going to go away. And I think the intelligence community recognized this. And I think that's what kind of evolved this infowaring into, there is a 19th intelligence agency now. And it's us. And well, there's good and bad to that, because the intelligence communities, ours and the foreign ones, the enemy ones, they recognize this. And I think that's what pushed us into this influence kind of phase that we're in. And when alt media first started, it was extremely powerful because of the power of influence that it took from mainstream media. Trump was instrumental in this, and you guys kind of touched on this with the rallies in the last panel. He bypassed the media and went straight to the people. And that opened the door for this alt media. But of course, the infowaring, the intelligence community, the Mockingbird media realized, well, now we got to rebrand. And so that infiltration into the alt media took place. And a lot of that was done by the intelligence community, both foreign and domestic. And so here we are now in the future of infowaring, and what does it look like? And I hope by the end of this panel, the one thing that people will realize is the intelligence community, whether it's formal or informal through.
All right, I'm going to stop it there just because we've listened to quite a bit of that one already. And we're going to go to a little clip from the best documentary I've ever seen, Codex 9/11. This is just a brief clip of it. Maybe I'll play like 5 minutes. It's a long documentary, but it's so good. There's never a dull moment. You guys are going to love it. Again, you can get access to the full thing with your virtual ticket, or this Sunday, it's going to be released publicly for everybody. We got to do our job to share it around because it needs to go viral, and it's going to.
Situations like this was on a training exercise in Monterey, California at the time of the bombing, and still can't get back to investigate it.
That's okay, though. Fortunately for the FBI, their anti-terrorism task force didn't need to be there right away to solve the case, because the case solved itself. In an act of miraculous fortune, one passenger's luggage somehow was never transferred to its respective doomed flight, which, when searched, just so happened to contain written-out breakdowns of all 19 hijackers, their backgrounds, their motives, each of their assignments, their ties to Al-Qaeda, a video cassette of a Boeing flight simulator, a knife, and pepper spray. The entire plot of 9/11 neatly packaged and dropped in their lap. Of all the passengers and all the planes, the one suitcase that just so happened to not make the plane has a written out breakdown of the attacks. Give me a break. I call this one the magic suitcase, which, when coupled with the magic passports, you get the FBI's official reasoning when asked how on earth they were instantly able to discern all of the hijackers and how they were attached to Al-Qaeda. That is some stroke of luck. And what about the alleged hijackers? The majority of them, 11 to be precise, obtained their visas through the U.S. consulate in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. This is notable because according to J. Michael Springman, former head of the Visa Bureau in Jeddah, this was the very consulate the CIA used throughout the 80s and 90s to obtain visas for their newly recruited Arab assets. Springman states that while head of the Visa Bureau from 87 to 89, he was consistently ordered by CIA higher-ups to push through visas. Springman also stated that while your typical Foreign Service post would be comprised of roughly a third of intel officers, that the consulate in Jeddah was at least 50%, if not more. One notable CIA agent stationed in this very consulate in Jeddah from 1982 to 1984, the heart of Operation Cyclone, was none other than John Brennan. John Brennan would later go on to become the chief of station responsible for overseeing and managing all CIA intelligence operations in all of Saudi Arabia from 1996 to 1999, right as the 9/11 hijacker visa operation was getting underway. Is it all starting to come together now? Furthermore, in even another all too on-the-nose coincidence, on the morning of September 11th, officials at the National Reconnaissance Office, the agency charged with operating our nation's spy satellites, had an exercise scheduled in which a small corporate jet would crash into their building. The National Reconnaissance Office draws its personnel straight from the military and CIA. I believe these drills, along with the FBI being scheduled on the other end of the country and NORAD being scheduled for drills up in Alaska and Canada, were designed to handicap response time and hinder the initial investigation. I believe that's also why World Trade Center 7 was taken out, to cripple the on-site operating center, because World Trade Center 7 wasn't just any office building. It housed, among other things, the SEC, the IRS, Secret Service, the Office of Emergency Management, the Department of Defense, and the CIA. Taking out Building 7 was crucial to muddying up the investigation process. Because as we've gone over consistently in this video, many things from the in real-time coverage do not line up with the official narrative. Like, for instance, FDNY Battalion Chief Oriel Palmer, who was able to take an elevator to the 41st floor and then use the south stairwell to make it up to the 78th floor, the site of impact.
We got two isolated pockets of fire. We should be able to knock it down with two lines. Where you go to 78th floor, numerous 1045 call one. What stair are you in, Oriel? South stairway, Adam. South tower. I'm going to need 3 firefighters. Adam, stairway to knock down two fires. We got a house line stretch. We can hit some water on it, knock it down, okay? All right, so we're coming up with there. Go on 77 now in the beach stair. I'll be right to you.
Just two isolated pockets of fire that they can knock down with two lines. Boy, that sure paints a different picture than what we've been led to believe. Just minutes after this narrative damning communication, the South Tower would explode into a near free fall collapse.
Let's stop it there, guys. So good. So damn good. Get your virtual tickets if you want to watch it now, or wait till Sunday when we premiere it right here on Badlands. I think at 6 p.m. Eastern. We're going to go live with that. Or it could be 5 p.m. Don't quote me on that. But it's going to be sometime Sunday. We'll announce it later. But yeah, that was great. And then right after that, we did a little Q&A with Brad. I won't play much of this, but I'll play a little bit. He got a well-deserved and long-standing ovation. Very well-deserved. And then we did a little Q&A. And this part alone was another hour, which was fantastic. Some great. And we had to like speed it up because people wanted to like give their testimony about how 9/11 impacted them and how their feelings have changed. And there's so many good questions. But we'll play a little bit of this.
Man, you guys are incredible. Thank you so much. That I've been working on that for the entire run of Badlands and even a little before that. So that's nice to get off my chest and unleash to the world. And I really appreciate that response. And I guess maybe we'll do a little Q&A here, or let's have a little bit of a discussion anyway. There's a lot to unpack.
Ash is over there. She's running the mic if you guys want to do a little Q&A. We saw some messages in the chat about wanting to support Brad and his work on this. And so Cheryl back home set up a Badlands boost spot on the website already for 9/11. So you guys can support him there directly. But Brad, I'm starting to think that we may not be able to fully trust our government after seeing that film. That was But before we go on here, I do want to plug that again because Brad has spent so darn long working on this documentary, and one of the things we do at Badlands, so we do a split of a percentage of the virtual ticket sales just for all the speakers, and that's on top of us paying for everybody's flights, everybody's hotel stays, and everything. The speakers, their travel and stuff is paid for, but we're giving Brad an additional little portion of virtual ticket sales, but it's not nearly enough of what he deserves. I wish I could do more. And one of the ways you guys can support him directly is by going to badlandsmedia.tv/boost. And there's a little drop down menu item here. I'll show you guys real quick. Badlandsmedia.tv/boost. And then right here in this first box, let me zoom in if I can. It won't let me. You click the drop down and go down to Codex 9/11. And then this is where you leave your support. And this is the best way to support Brad. Badlands does not actually get anything from the boosts. We only keep the amount to pay the processing fee, which we have to cover. The rest of it goes to whatever Badlands individual you are supporting, or whatever Badlands show. So rants are great. They go through Rumble. Rumble takes 20% cut. The rest of it goes to whatever show you're giving to. But if you want more bang for the buck, you do it through badlandsmedia.tv/boost and give it to Brad. He's beyond earned it. I love the guy, and seeing how hard he works and all the stuff that he's done, not just for himself, but for Badlands. There's nobody more deserving than Brad. But anyway, I'm going to go back to this. We'll do a little bit of the Q&A. It was incredible. I had surface level knowledge of what went on 9/11. Like, obviously, I have inside job, all these things. I did not know the details. Like, that film was incredible. It blew my mind.
Yeah, that's a lot of what took so long. There's a lot of people. I'd been talking about this right on my shows for a long time. I was like, "When's this coming? When's it coming?" But man, there's a lot of documents to read. It's like basically a good bulk is just combing through the commission report and all these different things. And boy, the devil's in the details, man. There's so many things that are even part of the official report that, boy, if someone said it on a regular news station, people would be like, wait, what? They didn't know that was Flight 175? When that went into the building? What are you talking about? So,
in your opinion, as the guy who made the film, what is the most damning thing on there? Like, what was the most damning piece of evidence?
oh man, I'll tell you one that really got me. That is when I feel like I did hear peripherally when it happened. What really hit me when I was looking over is the suitcase that they found in Logan Airport. One of all the passengers, we got one suitcase that just so happened to have the whole script of 9/11 in it. Like, please, dude. Also, when they're talking about why it didn't make the plane, because that was his connecting flight was in Logan. They got on the plane in Maine, Muhammad Atta. And they're like, well, he was running so late and it was a late edition. And that's why it never made the plane in Logan. So it made it to the next destination. Why didn't it get loaded onto the next plane? I mean, that would make sense maybe if you found it in the main airport that he first got on. But the whole thing, that was clearly planted. The passports, I think, are fucking retarded. Like, are you kidding me? You found a passport? So there's just a lot of things. And, these are the conclusions that I've come to going over it. Again, no one will ever truly know except for the people who conducted it. And there's a lot of names in this. And I don't even know if I'd necessarily say that anyone who is one shake away from 9/11 was explicitly involved in the planning of 9/11. Because I know a lot of these things are compartmentalized too, but boy, there are sure a lot of these similar names that seem to pop up in hindsight once you start looking into it. So,
Ash, let's start taking some questions over there.
We have a bunch of questions in the chat and here, so I thought we'd just go one to one. That work?
I do wonder if JB's here, if his thoughts on the intelligence community have changed at all, by the way. Where you at, JB? Yeah. What up, Mofu?
Tony Gigioli, great job, Brad. You brought together all the people parts of so good.
No, I'm not even going to tease the rest of the question. This is a great comment that he makes here. But I'm going to leave this to the virtual ticket holders and in-person ticket holders. We're going to go on to now the Sunday panels. We're going to skip the DPH because that's live for everybody already. And future of representation. This was a great one. Not going to lie, I was a little concerned going into it, seeing that Ash and G Money were going to be on the same panel. But I will say, out of all the panels that these two have done together, they're all great. I love the tension. I love the back and forth between them. I think it's great. I know not everybody appreciates that. This was, I think, the best one they've done. Not just in terms of the content and discussion of the panel, but like how they were all involved, and like it didn't feel as much friction as there normally has been in the past. Yet there was still enough of it to make it quality. I don't know if I'm describing that properly, but this was a really good panel. Sunday's panels were all excellent, probably because I wasn't on any of them. The weakest link.
Not through voting.
Let's go back to the beginning.
Don't want to make you walk too far.
Yeah, thank you to Christina from Rise to Tire for singing on Sunday.
That you're still resting. This seems to on this that you're still. I know that I have, and got plenty of good sleep last night. Hope that even if you didn't, that you're still rested and refreshed and ready for this conversation. So Ash has asked me to lead on this panel, and I don't know if that's to make sure that she and G share enough time on the panel, or that we all get a chance to speak. But either way, I know that I have a lot of ideas about what representation looks like in the golden age, and I've been thinking about changes that we can make to the system for a long time. But I would like to start with something that I feel is fundamental to ensure that the people who lead us into this golden age are going to be accountable not only to what the mission is to our nation, but and most importantly to the people that they represent. But I think that the most important thing going forward is that there is a zero tolerance policy for corruption and criminality. And I see that really happening all across the country. I don't know if you guys have been watching all weekend, but there seems to be an uptick, a major uptick in public officials. And this is happening at the local level right now, like mayors, city council, county officials seem to be getting arrested and charged with a variety of different crimes, be it accepting bribes, personal enrichment off of public funds, election fraud, ballot stuffing. And I feel like that is setting the tone, because one of the reasons, from my perspective, that we have so many dirty people in politics is because it really is rewarding if you're a criminal to get involved in politics. Nothing seems to happen most of the time. The public corruption units of the DOJ and within, the justice system seem to have been completely absent for the entirety of our lives. The idea of people getting arrested or charged with their crimes has basically been non-existent. So I would like to see that as a major component going forward, because I think that it would ultimately work towards ensuring that people who are going to engage in criminality, they would simply just say, you know what, I'm not going to bother to do it because I don't want to get caught. So maybe I'll try to commit crimes from the outside and then we can still nab them. I'd start there. And we've had this conversation, multiple times, Ash. So I will kick it to you and see what you would like to do, first of all, going into.
Yeah, I love the that you brought up that there are people being arrested all over the country, because there are people being removed, being arrested all over the country, and we hear, oh, there's nothing happening. Nobody's been arrested yet. Well, that's not true. And oh, by the way, child sex trafficking rings are being rolled up all over the place.
Boom.
That's an applause line. You definitely, please clap.
And satanic child pedophile rings.
Yeah, but future of representation, I think, is such a great discussion, because what is representation? Why do we have representation, and what does it mean in our form of government? Representation is what separates us from being a major democracy. Representation is how the idea behind it, and the idea in the Constitution is a ratio of 1 to 30,000. I think the average now is 1 to 740,000. So we've gotten real far off base, and we've got to fix that. Kind of where I was thinking we would go with this is what Can we have a more representative republic? The 1 to 30,000 was in a nation of 13 colonies, and it was real hard to get people to agree in that dynamic. And now we have 50 states, and we have a much greater landmass and a hell of a lot more people. Can we have a representative republic of this size in this way, or should we be looking at something else? Do we balkanize America? Do we what? So I think that those are some great conversations that should be had. I think a lot of people are afraid to have them because it's, oh well, we can't break up the United States. Well, maybe not, but maybe we can. And I'm not suggesting that that's my position to do it, but I do my position is that we need to have a more representative republic.
Can Ash's government handler tell her to open up her mind a little bit? No, I think we need to really come back to the basics. And we need to think about, why are we handing over our power to criminals? In essence, that's what we're doing, right? Humans are the absolute apex predator of this entire world. And so what we're doing is saying, hey, we should totally trust this predator and then think they're not going to attack us, right? Like they're not going to attack us, which you're being attacked every single day, right? And so Republicans, Democrats, like they're all part of the same conspirator freaking criminal organization, okay? And I know I'm going a little hard with this. Like we get some good ones, right? Thank God for JFK. Thank God for Ronald Reagan. Thank God for Ron Paul. Thank God for Donald Trump, right? Every once in a while, a good one sneaks through. But the incentive structure, the closeness to the money printer, all of these people are giving you the illusion of a democracy, when really all they're doing is actually stuffing their own pockets and stripping you of your rights, okay? And so that's why we need to really understand, like, democracy in America is a shitcoin, okay? And that's why I harp on this so much, is because you can literally compare our government to a shitcoin cryptocurrency, because what it does, it allows a small group of people to change the rules and make new rules for everybody, right? Think about that. 1,000 people, roughly, in Washington, D.C., get to make the rules for 300 million.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. Big shout out to Inverted World Live for just rating the stream. Really appreciate you. For those who are just coming in fresh, welcome to Badlands Media. We are doing a quick recap of a conference that we just held this last weekend called the Great American Restoration Tour. We do 4 of them a year. We were holding this last one in Deadwood, South Dakota, had about 250, 260 people in attendance and a whole bunch of people watching live via the virtual ticket. We had 9 panels. We did a documentary. It was just great. And I'm going to preview the last panel here. This was a really fun one. Matt Ehret, since he came from Canada and got all jacked up with his travel, he missed the first panel he was supposed to be on, the Manifest Destiny panel. So we threw him on this Future of Past. And in my opinion, I think this was probably my favorite panel of the whole weekend. It was the very last one of the whole weekend. I'm going to play a longer clip of this just to give you guys a good taste. I'm going to play something that was said at the end, because I think Burning Bright and Chris really did a pretty good job capping this thing off and capping off the conference. So enjoy. Oh, and by the way, guys, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And don't forget to give this channel a follow if you're new here.
Well, I guess I would like to start by, are we good to go, John? Cool. I want to start by just making fun of Will Kingston. This is a guy who is a television character in Britain. I think he's like a news anchor, and he's getting destroyed on social media right now for posting a map of the United States, of Alaska and Russia. And he says, because of the way the maps are normally drawn, I've never realized that the US, Alaska, and Russia are almost touching. I am in shock. These are the people who are, and this thing is 30 million views. These are the people who are shaping our public influence, influencing our public policy, and they don't even know geography. This is why we look at maps on every show that I'm on. I'm like, every time I'm talking about a country, I pull a map up so we know what the hell we're looking at. It's amazing. Anyway, the future of the past, I think, is a great subject to end with on the weekend, because as Burning Bright says on his show, what's the tagline of your show? The story is a war, the war is a...
The war is a story, the story is a war.
Yeah, that is history in a nutshell. History is just the story of humanity of our forefathers, and history is written by the victor. And we are not in a kinetic war, we are in an information war. And that means that there's probably never going to be an official ceasefire, an official end to it. It's just going to be continuing to go forever and ever. Now, hopefully the PSYOPs will win, but how do we then establish who the victor is, and how do we establish what history is the right history? Well, I think it's a matter of which side has the better storytellers.
Yeah, I agree with that. I had floated this panel topic as an idea, the future of the past. I like my paradoxes, so that was part of it. But to Ghost's point there, I think if I skip to the solution, if we all probably agree in varying ways about the problem. I think Chris often says, you know, history is yesterday's fake news.
Fake news is future history. I think my mic's really loud. Am I really loud?
You're disproportionately loud, but so am I. Huh.
So, you know, I would agree with that if we're kind of all agreeing on there's a problem in terms of history really being not just written by the victors. I think that that's true, and I know that that's a common sort of refrain, but it's also codified through consensus. And the word consensus, you know, I know the last panel was talking about consensus quite a bit, and I think it's important to really drill into your psyche that consensus has no bearing on objective reality in any way, although it visits extreme effects onto reality. So consensus in something being the truth has no bearing on whether or not that is the truth. And if I want to skip to what's maybe a solution, instead of just saying, history is all fake, so therefore disregard it, I sort of think it's like, the first step to the first step to recovery is admitting you have a problem. And I think that if you are engaging with history, with stories of history, with firsthand accounts of history, and Matt can talk more to this, and primary sources. I remember in journalism school being taught about primary sources, which is ironic. Those primary sources are people writing stuff down that they are claiming is happening at that time. And what's so funny is we, in this community, understand that most of the people doing that right now are either knowingly or accidentally lying about everything they're writing down. But like somebody writes something down in 1775 and we're like, this was the thing that was happening in November of 1775 because this guy wrote it down. Well, what if somebody digs up an Atlantic article in 2077 about Trump being a Russian asset? That's history, right? And it's a primary source, but it doesn't have any bearing on reality. If you admit that and understand it, I think you can then engage with what the histories are, which are stories trying to convince you of something. You can still learn a lot from them and from the world at that time if you try to get out of the mindset of learning the objective truth of events that happened that you will never be able to confirm.
Yeah, that was well said. Yeah, and thank you guys for letting me pop on this last panel. That's really cool. Considering especially that my heart and soul is really, really hoping to take part in the Manifest Destiny one on the first day. So this is, yeah.
You can just give your Manifest Destiny talking points and we'll work it in.
Yeah, well, I think so. I think that this is a very lawful way to weave it in. It's going to happen. Because at the end of the day, like you were saying, burning is okay, right? Or BB?
BB, just tell me BB.
Netanyahu just took away the joy of saying that.
It's true, yeah.
BB is the preferred
He
nomenclature.
took everything I've worked for.
Yeah, okay.
He also goes by flaming, too.
But like you were saying, there is a question of the stories that shape us, shape our identities, and as we shape our identities, it determines what the future will be, right? Because what we see is our limits, a lot of our limits. There are some objective limits, you know, that if you're in a desert, there's only so much water to go around. You can only last so long in a desert without water. That's an objective limit. But a lot of the limits that we have are intellectual. We think that we don't have the confidence to lean into the unknown and learn something new. So that lack of confidence causes us to retreat into ourselves or into our comfort zone, at which point we won't be able to be the better part of ourselves that we could have been if we had a better understanding of the terrain, a better awareness of our potentials, of our creative powers. And so when we look at our past from the standpoint of the battles to overcome challenges and leap outside of our limits to make life better for our kids, which comes with risk, which comes with sacrifice, like all the founding fathers understood, all of the people who fought to keep the Union intact in the 19th century, they had an idea that their life was given meaning by virtue of providing for something better for the next generations to come into the infinity. And so when we appreciate that, we can awaken that part of ourselves. But when we have stories that are given to us in our crappy textbooks and whatever, narrative controllers, the gatekeepers of our history that make the American Revolution sound as Canadians are given in schools, the story that was just a bunch of belligerent assholes who didn't have the patience to just wait for the crown to give them freedoms. That's the way that, we're given these really shitty stories that the American Revolution was actually a bit of a mistake. That the Civil War, it would have been better that the Civil War just break up because America was a hypocritical, self-contradictory beast of slavery. So it should have actually just fallen apart, if the world was just. And so people lose the ability to really appreciate the nature of the battle lines. But if you can introduce a better reading, which touches at Putin and Trump, they just met. And undoubtedly, everyone's focus is now on the question of the Bering Strait, which is the same thing that the networks around Abraham Lincoln and Tsar Alexander II were negotiating, extending rail lines through the Bering Strait after Russia saved the Union in the midst of the Civil War, which would have resulted without Russia in the total collapse of the American experiment. And the discussion after America came out was to extend that rail through the Bering Strait, which is why Russia sold Alaska.
Did you see Putin was talking about that?
He was talking about that.
Yeah. Did you think Putin? Yeah, I think Putin is probably listening to Matt Aird a little bit.
I don't know about that, but that'd be cool. But I don't know. But that would definitely change the value of the past, because right now, as long as we stay on a fallacious narrative that denies the existence of that objectively true occurrence in history, the value that has on shaping the present is very low. But as soon as we acknowledge that was a dominant set of ideas that were fighting, though they were sabotaged for the future that didn't happen, if we do and start acting accordingly to revive that again, then the value of that period as far as having an active causative power on our present and future circumstance is going to increase a lot. So it's just a fascinating idea about how the past can change according to present decisions about the future.
Absolutely. First, I want to say is whatever BB has in his leg, it's fucking contagious, because my leg just wants to start dancing right now.
The Jimmy leg.
You got to put that lotion on it.
I want to start off with a quote real quick, and it comes from the famous George Orwell, 1984. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. And when I started to dive in, what is he saying here? What, or at least what am I getting from it? And everything that, what you're saying is so important, but then the part that concerns me is the truth of the history we're being told, is it authentic? Is it real? Is the history we're studying real? And if we can go on present day, the stuff that the current lies we see, then how can we trust the history that we've been told to build this culture like you're talking about that's so important? And the only thing I really could come up with is the only thing that we can absolutely know is true to even a point is what we're actually living in right now, the present moment. But then what he says, he who controls the present controls the past, because we dictate who the villains are, we dictate who all that stuff. And so how do we make sure that the propaganda of today doesn't become the curriculum of our great grandkids? And that's kind of where I hope I get the answers from you guys today on this panel.
Well, I'm really glad you said that, because that kind of leads into kind of how I wanted to start things off. I think that we have to figure out how to operate in an environment where there is no trust and no reliable information, because that's the actual state of things. And so we have to figure out how to operate within that. And that's not how we were conditioned to believe our world was. We thought that we knew a bunch of things. This is how things are. And then we operate within that. It turns out a lot of that's not true. In terms of the history of the past, I think maybe Matt Aird and I talked about this a little bit in Plymouth. But I think first you have to consider what the past is to the extent that we can know it. And I know it's cliche, but the idea that history repeats, I think, is extremely valid, because if you understand a control system that just is real. The idea to maintain that control is to have the people constantly going through the same emotional states based on the same experiences as they're communicated to them. And, you know, BB and I talk plenty about story structure on Story Hour. Story structures are consistent because the stories are meant to guide people through in a way they understand, giving them the emotional, positive, negative, back and forth throughout the entire story. And so the interesting thing about that is that there's ultimately a limit to how far that can be stretched. You can change all the details, you can change all the characters, but the story structure is going to remain the same. The same stories are going to be told over and over and over again. And part of that is that just that human nature doesn't change. And so when I'm looking at history, when I'm thinking about the past, when I'm thinking about what the future of the past is, hopefully it's that understanding that underneath all of that, we understand the repeating patterns, and then inside that, I think, is where we can actually find something to hold on to.
All right. I'm going to skip ahead to the end because Bernie Bright kind of capped it off with a really good comment. Let's go right here, I think. And then after this, we'll go through the rants and the boosts, and we'll wrap up the stream for the night.
Actually, I was going to bring up Codex earlier. Somebody had the comment yesterday that I thought was fantastic of saying, you know, we're not waiting for the disclosure. Brad's giving us, you know, that version of disclosure right there. And I'd close with just saying something I'm really proud of at Badlands, and I'm very biased about this, and make our comments, and there's disagreements, et cetera. People come and go. We have our opinions of other people. They have their opinions of us. Something I'm really solidified in, and I think most people here are, is for everybody that talks about the plan and the Patriot Plan, at Badlands, we do not believe in passivity. We all have strong disagreements with each other about various topics, as you see at all of these Garts. But the idea that we are sometimes framed as not believing in the plan, when I think that we as a community are the only ones pushing the plan forward at all, is absolutely absurd. And Codex 911 is a great example of that. It doesn't matter if there's a Patriot Plan of disclosure and all this kind of stuff. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But it is, you know, G-Money would call that a domesticated point of view, and he's absolutely right. We don't wait for permission to find the truth, not even from Donald Trump or Kash Patel or Pam Bondi or Q Drops from 2017, okay? We get to decide what we talk about. We get to decide what kind of future we want to build. And lately, the only people trying to hold the truth community back are people in the truth community, and fuck that.
Should we do closing thoughts?
Quick closing thoughts, yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you all for coming. I think this was a great Gart. I've had a blast. Great to see so many familiar faces who have come back time after time. I want to thank Mrs. Bright for all the hard work she does.
I'm going to stop it there, guys. And I agree. I do want to also thank Mrs. Bright. She wasn't able to attend this weekend, and that was a bummer. We missed her, but she puts in, she's the only one that puts in the work on these things behind the scenes. To be totally honest, she gets the venues lined up. She deals with all the ticket sales and everything. Like, she's a lifesaver. We literally would not be able to do this without her. And also, though, if you have any complaints, she loves those. She loves complaints. So feel free to email her directly with those complaints. But yeah, guys, Gart was just amazing. Super pumped about the whole thing, how it went down. They're only getting better, and we're only getting more eyes on us and more. The number of new people that attended. I mean, we had a great number of people who've been to these conferences before, which is always awesome. We love seeing returning faces, but it's also really encouraging to see how many new people will attend these things. And it's like every single time we do one of these conferences, it's a higher number of newbies, and we love it. The first time our Gart meetup on, I think it was on Friday before, was it Friday? Yeah, it was Friday before the welcome reception was fantastic. So anyway, guys, let's go through some rants here. And Let me see where we're at. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. Rants first, and then I'll get to the boosts. I don't think we have anything over on YouTube, but thank you to all the YouTubers that are watching. I showed the first meme from Babbage earlier, but I'll do it again here. Gart meme number 1, and it was this one. So funny. The reunion with the two. Then back to the rants. 12 Indie Boy, amazing Gart, and can't wait for Cocoa Beach. Just here for the thumbs up. We'll watch you replay tomorrow before driving to the Badlands. JC said best Gart ever for so many reasons. I do think it was the best Gart ever. Although the best Gart ever might just be the next one. Might just be the next one. You're the one who told me that this weekend, Ty. Love that phrase. It's great seeing you and JC and everybody. It's just can't get enough of these Garts. They're amazing. Meme number 2 from Babbage. Personally, this might be my favorite. A nice little picture of burning Boop. I was messing with him with the mic and slapping him in the face with it a little bit, and we got a great meme developed from that moment. Murfster7, another great Gart in the books, and I love the recaps, John, so thank you. I will see you in Cocoa Beach. It can't get here quick enough. Yeah, guys, this week we're putting the Cocoa Beach tickets on sale. They'll be first available to existing ticket holders. So whether that was in person or virtual, you'll be the first ones to get the email. We'll leave that out for, I don't know, maybe a week or so, and then we'll release them publicly to everybody. So if you do plan on attending, Cocoa Beach, last time we did it was a big hit. We had a good numbers of attendees. And when we did the Badlander meetup down in Lakeland, we had like 150 people show up to that thing. I would not be surprised if this upcoming Cocoa Beach is really big. I don't even know what our capacity is at this venue, so don't want to wait too long on those tickets. Don't want to scare anybody either, because maybe we don't sell any. Who knows? But yeah, you guys will get first dibs. Texas Jules says, thanks for all the hard work you, Miss BB, and others put into scheduling these Garts, John. They're priceless to us, and because of you, we've created lifelong friendships. Badlandia Task Force forever. Thank you, Jules. It was so good to see you again. And you and your task force, you guys are amazing. I met Texas Jules. I don't even remember the first Gart you were at, Jules. But I have this story with like so many. It's like they literally become family. They're like second moms. Not just the ladies, second moms and dads. My mom was actually in attendance at this one, which was really cool. She was at the last dead one as well. Yeah, a lot of people got to meet her again. Yeah, Tex Jules, they're the ones who bought me that hat that I wore, the bedazzled hat on the DPH on Saturday. Yeah, so good to see all you returnees, just like family. 417 Patriot, a bit behind, so hope you get this. But yes, this is Claire. My B-Day was on the 15th, and I brought you the first dildo in the gift bag. So yeah, she was the first one technically to present us with a dildo, but it didn't make its way on stage until the DPH. So it was the second dildo publicly seen. Either way, thank you so much and happy birthday. Hope you enjoyed your time at Gart. I believe you were a first time attendee. Babbage 3 with meme number 3. This is a good one too. This is Ghost interviewing what looks to be like a Woody type frontiersman, and this is the caption on the meme here. As Ghost ranted on about how the Jews controlled the entertainment industry, Woody could only clench his fists and concentrate on his breathing. He knew they were fired. Now it was only a question if Ghost would stop before he said something that would get them killed. As Ghost rant veered onto the subject of underage girls at Hanukkah parties, Woody realized they were screwed. Brilliant, Babbage, just brilliant. There's hilarious. 417. Babbage was at the conference this weekend too. Awesome to see you. 417 Patriot again says Mount Rushmore was amazing. So freaking cool that our badass Badlands military bros got called up on stage and honored while we were there. That was the cherry on top to the best B-Day weekend ever. And then again, thanks for everything. Your hard work at these events is appreciated more than you know. I left with a full cup, lots of new friends, and the OG Zach, Mr. Red Pill 78 himself, saying bye and happy B-Day to me. That's cool. Yeah, again, very happy that you attended. Grease Monkey 58 says, thank all of y'all. Thank you, Grease Monkey. And 417 Patriot again says, I about died. Getting to meet all of you was great. By the way, your girlfriend is hot and super nice too. Watch out, she might be a serial killer. What? I mean, I agreed with her being hot and super nice. I'm not sure about her being a serial killer yet. That is TBD. If I end up dead, we can probably blame her. Did you end up giving the dildo to your mom, by the way? You know what? I don't know what happened to that dildo. Last I saw, Alpha came up on stage and grabbed it during the power hour. Everybody saw it. Lots of witnesses. We have not seen the dildo since. I'm not sure why you asked if I gave it to my mom. That'd be a weird thing for me to do. But was she like asking for it or something? Because that's even weirder. But anyway, Alpha was the last one to have been in possession of that device. So I'm going to assume he still has it. Wonder if he got it through security. And then over on the Badlands media.tv/boost website, we got one here from 1027JS. Good to see you, Joe, fellow North Dakotan, says, supporting Baseless Conspiracies for $20. And there we go. There you have it, guys. That's everything. Hope you enjoyed the Gart weekend. It's going to be difficult to get back into the flow, but I will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Daily Herald. So, yeah, anyway, have a good night, everybody, and stay tuned for the documentary this Sunday. We will be posting more information on it very soon. Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, though, I believe is the time, followed by the narrative with Brad and Ghost, where they're going to talk about the documentary and 9/11. So, thank you, everybody. I'm going to bed. Have a great rest of your night. You guys should go to bed, too.